Hi everyone, welcome to the April 2022 edition of Farsight's Human News, the remote viewing news forecast show that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I'm Aziz Brown. Before I go on, let me tell you about our next major mysteries project. This is a project that you are all going to want to see. Vladimir Putin and his inner circle. That is correct. As you all know, there is a huge war going on in Ukraine. President Putin is having a rough time with this war, both internationally as well as domestically within Russia. Not a few people have questioned whether he is acting rationally in any normal sense of the word. Well, this whole Ukrainian war thing is as confusing to us as it is to everyone else, and we wondered what could be behind it all. If President Putin is not acting rationally, is someone else messing with his mind? And what about his most important advisors? Is anyone messing with their minds? You see, in one of our past projects, human leadership has been compromised. We focused on extraterrestrial mental influences that were happening unknowingly to Catholic popes. In that project, the focus on popes resulted in us being able to say that if extraterrestrial mental influences can happen to religious leaders, then it can happen to anyone. Well, this Ukraine war has been sufficiently confusing that we thought it would be worthwhile to take a look inside the mind of President Putin and his closest advisors to see if anything was going on. Now, let's be clear about this. Our project is not an attempt to criticize President Putin or anyone else. There are plenty of other people dishing out criticism towards him and the war these days, and no one needs us to do that also. We are simply wanting to know if President Putin is being manipulated, and if he is, by whom. Well, we did find out the answer to this using our team of remote viewers. Friends, if this can happen to President Putin, it can happen to any human leader, anyone. You really need to see this project. In my opinion, this project is a real game changer on a great many levels. President Putin and his inner circle, April 15th, 2022, only on farsightprime.com. Moving on, for those of you who want personalized instruction in remote viewing, Princess Janae is teaching remote viewing both individually and in groups. Our methods are sufficiently complex that we use pre-printed templates for our sessions. And Princess can work with you either individually or in groups as you learn to use these remote viewing methods as well. Our approaches address a wide range of applications that we do here at Farsight, including investment evaluations and forecasting. We do lots of stuff that nobody else does, and it's a big subject. But for those who are interested, Princess will show you how we do what we do. Be patient in learning any of our methods. Nothing that we do was learned in a day. Also, understand that when Princess teaches remote viewing, no one at Farsight gets any financial benefit from this. Princess does this entirely on her own. Remember, also, that there is a large collection of instructional videos on farsightprime.com. Also, our updated Seco Plus project is now fully operational. Information about this can be found on our website, farsight.org. Seco Plus stands for Contemporary Investigations of Cryptocurrency, plus other opportunities. As with our original Seco project, we continue to focus primarily on cryptocurrencies with 5-year forecasts, in which we probe for adoption using our specialized remote viewing procedures and methods of analysis. But now we added a few other edgy projects to the mix, such as cutting-edge technologies and other realms where unusual investments are being made. Our forecasts are available for free to see on YouTube, but the identities of the currencies and other elements are sold separately on our website, farsight.org. Cryptocurrencies are currently on the rise again, so now is a good time to think about such things. Again, as with all of our economic forecasts of any type, including our Seco and Seco Plus forecasts, no one at Farsight is a licensed financial advisor, and we do this for entertainment and educational purposes only. Nonetheless, we feel that as we continue to do this, it will become increasingly difficult for people to doubt the reality of remote viewing. Also, we can really use your help if you share our YouTube content with your friends. Be sure to like our videos, but really try to click on the share button and send our content to your friends. Word of mouth has always been the best way to spread really new ideas. Relying on institutions to make fundamental changes in our world is almost a contradiction in terms. Real change happens from the actions of people, not institutions. Institutions resist change. They always have and they always will. Since all of you are people, help us make the change happen. It's a people thing. Moving on, how do you hear about all of our activities that we do at Farsight so that you can participate and get the latest when they happen, including our live streams? To start with, we use our email list and YouTube to make our major event announcements. So there are two things that you need to do. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel and remember to click the notifications bell that appears after you subscribe. That is the only way that YouTube will notify you of the new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't do anything. The notifications bell is the important part, but that only notifies you of things that we release on YouTube. To be notified about the things that we release on farsightprime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps, on the web and on your home TV, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. You can also allow our apps to notify you of our new releases on farsightprime.com. Be sure to do all three things. First, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight, and remember to click the notifications bell, and then subscribe to our free email newsletter that you can find on our website. And finally, go to the settings of our app and allow it to give you notifications of our new releases on farsightprime.com. The links for YouTube and our newsletter are in the description area below this video, and the app is, well, it's on your phone. Those are how we announce what we do. We never send out spam and we never give our subscriber lists to anyone else for any purpose. Now, on to Human News. Let's start by summarizing what happened last month with our March Human News program. We had a very interesting and highly successful month. The Ukraine invasion obviously dominated the news. The sessions by Shantae clearly pointed to evacuations and refugee flows that have been happening in Ukraine. Princess and Kamaya both reported on war-type events that parallel the conflicts that we have seen in the cities in Ukraine, with bombings and fightings in urban areas. Intisam session seems to have unambiguously portrayed the protests that have been occurring in Russia, and my own session matches the arrest of the mayor of the Ukrainian city of Melitopol. He was arrested at the city's crisis center on the 11th of March by 10 armed soldiers. Basically, our remote viewers described various parts of the Russian invasion of Ukraine perfectly, with many of the reported events containing unique or unusual characteristics. The level of detail in some of these sessions is amazing. For those who may still be wondering if remote viewing is real, this is a good month to look at the results. All in all, March was a terrible month in Ukraine, but the remote viewing sessions describing the major elements of the war were great. Now, let's move on to this month's Human News forecast for April 2022. Remember, we could always be wrong, and all remote viewing must be seen as an experiment, not a certainty. But look at the data for yourself, make your own decisions, and then let's watch the month roll out to see what actually happens. We have 5 remote viewers who participated in this month's project: Kamaya Dunson, Intisam, Princess Janae, Shantae, and myself. These reports are amazing to watch. It is best if you just watch them for yourself without me trying to explain them in advance. So, let's begin our forecast for April 2022. I will return after all of the reports are presented to help pull everything together.
Okay, so starting off, I have level topography here on a base surface. There is foliage here as well, and it kind of looks like really tall trees. So like really, really big ones, like pine looking. And they're just all over, so. Okay, so bunch of foliage here, right? Then I have this kind of body of water over here, something like this, maybe the end of a stream or like a small lake or something like that. And then I have kind of something over here that looks like this fenced in area. So like just some sort of border over here too. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of man-made sounds here. It sounds kind of very loud and like things are almost exploding and being destroyed. I hear just like shouting voices. And then I also see this non-surface structure in the sky. There's actually a couple of non-surface structures in the sky. So there's like this one here, this one here. Now, both of these non-surface structures are dropping things, like things are falling out of them. When I probe what those are, they're kind of soft and they're natural. So I'm pretty sure these are like dropping subjects here onto the base surface. And they're kind of dropping them like far out, not close to this fenced in area, but just kind of further out in the trees. Okay, so there's that. There are surface structures here. There's a very large surface structure right here. Yeah, something like that. So it's like way bigger than all the other ones here, and it kind of feels like a structure that has like many different rooms in it, many different components, and it's all like meant to hold and store things inside of here. And then there's just like smaller structures kind of surrounding this, but this whole thing is like encapsulated or enclosed in some sort of like barrier or fence. And then so we've got these subjects falling in, right? Cool. For my next visual, I have again this flat sort of area, a lot of foliage here, and I see the subjects falling from the sky, but I also see this big kind of mushroom cloud, you would say. I see a mushroom cloud that's kind of happening right here in this area. Yes, guys, my arm hurts. It's on fire. Feel the burn for the remote viewing. Okay, so there's that. Non-surface structure, bam. Non-surface structure, bam. Subjects, bam. Okay, so here are the subjects that fell from the sky. They're walking this way, or kind of, headed this way. They're headed towards the area that is fenced in. So like that. There's the fence. So there's that. So, and then on top of that, we've got those smaller structures here, like I was saying, kind of surrounded. And then this structure that was here, I kind of see like a little bit of that structure kind of sticking out over here. But like for the most part, there's a giant mushroom cloud right there. So it's kind of sticking out like this, comes up like that, and then swirly, swirly on top. And then there's like other little things of energetics kind of over here, kind of spread out over there. But overall, you know, there's this big kind of explosion type thing that happens right here. You can feel the rumbling, hear the rumbling, and there's kind of other things maybe being destroyed around it. There are like a lot of subjects here too. They feel like male and female subjects. So just like all these X's, subjects. These subjects are male and female subjects. They seem to be all kind of wearing the same type of clothing as well. And they all have this kind of similar demeanor to them. So maybe there's some sort of training that they've been through. But that's kind of what these subjects are feeling like. Some of these subjects feel like they're dead. Some of these subjects feel like they're still alive. Some of these subjects feel like they are very injured. And it definitely feels like these subjects kind of came and did a surprise attack sort of thing. I will say that these subjects like weren't completely in the dark. There is some sort of feeling that, you know, they knew that this was going to be a possibility and it could happen. So even though it was like, it seems to be some sort of surprise, it definitely feels like this group of people were ready for it. But another thing that I want to mention is that this area is so secluded from everything that it definitely feels like this place was hidden or something. Or not hidden, but just, you know, definitely put somewhere away from the general public. It feels kind of like a base of some sort, or some sort of like facility, packaging facility, shipping facility, something that is needed to be kind of kept away from the general population. And yeah, it definitely feels like things were being stored here. These subjects came to take it or something like that. And it just ended up in like a big kind of brawl. The last thing I want to look at is, you know, why did this happen? Why is this place being attacked? I feel like it all stems from this subject. And the subject is like very angry, like to the point where it almost feels like they're seeing red, like they're not even thinking straight. When I look at this subject, they have very, not a slender face, but they kind of have like a rounder face, like a slender round face. I got here. And like kind of like this. And then they don't really have any hair on the top of their head. But it does look like they kind of have this little 5 o'clock shadow thing going on. Okay, so like a 5 o'clock shadow. A little bit of maybe a little stash. Thin lips. Regular eyes. Got a decent sized nose on them. That's a little big, but y'all get the gist. And then even though they don't have hair like on the top of their head, they seem to have some sort of hair kind of on the sides a little bit. So maybe just a little like that, you know? But this, okay, so looks angry, pale, 5 o'clock shadow, no hair, definitely feels like tense and tight. They feel angry, they look upset, and they feel just like someone has completely disrespected them entirely. I'm getting this idea that this is something that they want because they tried to take something else and it didn't happen for them. So yeah, I guess they tried to take something else or make something theirs already, make a place theirs already, and it didn't happen. So now, like in this moment of like rage, okay, we're just gonna go attack something else or take something else. And that's kind of how the subject is feeling, and that is why these things have happened, because this subject isn't getting what they want. I also wanted to probe like these subjects that are falling versus these subjects that are already here. These subjects that are already here, like I said, you know, they feel like they knew this was coming. There is a little bit of fear in there, but a lot of adrenaline and a lot of just like, let's go, let's protect. You know, there's this sense of protection. These subjects over here, they feel more like they're on an adrenaline high, and like they've been waiting for this day. Like they are excited, okay? They are 100% ready, down, almost like they even volunteered to jump out of these non-surface structures and come and attack this area. So yeah, that is all I have for this target.
All right, so for this target, I am perceiving a urban area. At a distance, I'm seeing like very tall buildings, so it's kind of like a downtown center. So lots of lots of structures here. There's also foliage. Subjects all through the area, and the subjects, they look like they are mostly light-skinned subjects, so like Caucasian skin tones. Like behind is also. In terms of what I'm hearing a lot of like voices, subjects talking, but I'm also getting like some booming sounds. And then there is quite a bit of dust or smoke. I'm not sure, it's just something that is, yeah, there's definitely particles in the air. So I think it gives you an accurate description of what it looks like. There's also foliage in this location. Okay, I'm also seeing some non-surface structures, but because this is it looks like a pretty large urban area, you know, it could be commercial non-surface structures. So this is my first visualization. So an element that I'm sensing in this target, I'm sensing a lot of energetics as well. These energetics, so these are the energetics, right? When I'm trying to follow exactly where they're coming from, it looks like it's a horizontal movement. It's not coming from the top, it's just coming from the side and then, you know, booming and exploding. Okay. I'm also getting this visual of large objects, large heavy vehicles moving on the ground. And this is like way on the outskirts, like it's not pretty close to this urban area. This is just what I'm seeing at a distance. So somewhere like over here, I'm seeing some very, very large objects. They look like tanks. And then there's just, yeah, so I mean, basically it's a tank, right? And there's quite a few of them moving in a particular direction. And, you know, my biggest deduction with this one would be whatever is happening, you know, with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And then here in the back, seeing, you know, just a bunch of structures. So there's a whole lot of them, and they're just kind of moving in unison towards one particular area. So right now, they are kind of getting into the urban center. Okay, so my third visual is pretty much expounding on the events that are happening here. So again, right here, it is a much more grim image, and I'm seeing this, you know, this heavy vehicle, this tank-like object. That's its, you know, spout. So I'm seeing it, and right in front of it is like a whole lot of smoke and energetics emitting, and all the structures right here have just been pretty wrecked. So it's pretty much like it's rubble that's left, and you can see they're just, it's a very, very damaged area. So it's just, yeah, just basically just rocks left, right? These are, you know, just more of the rubble. And this is still moving towards the same general direction, moving closer and closer into this urban area. And there's a whole lot of smoke emanating in this environment now. So what I'm seeing is the classic war scene, right? The tanks, the urban area. There's obviously a lot of destruction right here. So let's just explore a little bit more about why are these subjects doing this? What's their mind state? So I am just putting my consciousness over this entire area, and I can sense a sense of fear and panic from subjects who are in here, because there's a lot of them. So fear, panic, and shock emanating from the city. In terms of the soldiers, the subjects, because they're basically, I mean, I'm just naming it as I'm seeing it. So these subjects that are in here, they have a strong sense of following orders. They have an objective, and they will carry out their objective. There's a very stark, like, and I've kind of blanketed the area with my consciousness, right, to get a reading, and it's like you can see the divide in just in terms of the emotion between the subjects who are in here and the subjects who are out here. So yeah, they're going to follow orders and complete their objective, and they're just going to move along. That's their mindset. That's the mindset I'm getting, is they're going to move along with the task at hand. Let me just do like a quick collective deep mind probe. Okay, so the subjects causing all the destruction, I'm sensing an almost impenetrable wall of emotion and coldness. It's just like a coldness with their mental state. It's almost like I'm probing robots. These subjects are just very robotic and emotionless. They have a blinding sense of loyalty, is what I'm feeling from these subjects, just in terms of their mind state. Honestly, it feels like I'm probing machines a little bit. Yeah, so these subjects, these are on the attacking side, the ones operating the machines and blowing everything up. So that's kind of scary, feeling into the minds of these subjects. It's just, I get chills. It's just they're cold, loyal, like blinded, like robotic type subjects right here. And this is what I have for this this target.
All right, so let me stick with this color. Actually, I'll switch out to this one. All right, so this target starts off with some hills in the background and a vast urban area in the foreground. So I'm just gonna draw out a lot of structures. So this is really where the whole target takes place, is in this area with a dense urban area, lots of structures, some taller structures, and some other structures that are not as tall. But yeah, this is basically what the environment is like. There are some subjects as well as some vehicles inside this urban area, so multiple subjects, multiple activity of subjects moving around and stuff like that. But this is basically where we start off the target. All right, so leaving all of this up here, I'm seeing an object that I'm going to draw up here, but it's much smaller. So a zoomed in perspective is sort of like, it looks like this. It's a slender object, and it seems to have these wings, sort of like fins that are off of it. So it's kind of like that. Just imagine the lines are a bit straighter than what I drew right there. So yeah, it's a bit like that. And it's moving really fast. So this is like, and it's moving really fast. So I'm going to draw it over here because it goes right into one of these really tall structures over here. So I'm going to draw out some energetics right here, like a, and that object basically is, this zooms right into that structure, just whoosh, and then this sort of boomy energetics happens. Some well, let's pick a different color. Some smokiness, kind of feels like smoke and burning, and or a pollution-y smell. The whole city sort of, the whole urban area kind of has this like man-made smoky, pollution-y, burny smell, like burning type of smell. But this quite a lot of black smokiness comes out of this explosive energetics that goes right into this tallish structure. So that is basically what I'm seeing next. All right, just to give another perspective, let me actually switch to this color. So just to give another perspective of the topography, I'm seeing a lot of these structures, and within this urban area, I'm seeing a lot of very heavily padded and armored looking subjects at the time of this booming explosiveness. So in the middle of this urban area, ta-da. All right. Oops. Alrighty, and yeah, then there's just a bunch of these subjects who are with headgear. They're quite armored up, and well, baggier clothing, sort of, it seems, and they're all looking upwards, and they look like they're looking upwards at that sort of explosive object hitting the structure that I sketched out earlier. And these guys all seem like they are holding a sort of object, long object, metallic-y, dark object, and well, I'll keep drawing out because this guy's not alone. He's got a bunch of others sort of similarly dressed around him. Ta-da. All right, and they're all looking up, all what seems to be basically the same thing. And yeah, that's basically what's going on. All right, yeah, so all of these subjects, there is more than just 3 or 4 of them. There's like a small group of them, and they're all just sort of looking up. So they're all of these subjects looking up at that explosive interaction between a tall structure and this sort of object that goes and then smacks into it, causing some explosive energetics to happen. And yeah, so this is within the urban area, and there seems to be sort of in the background, sort of in the more natural part of the topography, I'm seeing a lot of mixtures between white hues and sort of like grayish hues and brown hues as well. So the topography seems quite diverse between this urban expansiveness as well as these other areas that are sort of more white in texture and other areas that are more brown in texture. So yeah, it's a urban area with some interesting natural surroundings. So let's give another perspective of this environment. So basically, to conclude, I'll draw two pictures, one on this side, one on the other. So I'm seeing some hills, some flat land over there, and I'm seeing a lot of mixtures between white hues in this flatter area as well as this bluish watery area over here, sort of like a blue narrower watery feeling that goes sort of that way, sort of into this urban area. And then I'm seeing this expansive urban area with that tall structure that got hit right here. We'll draw it out first and then draw the rest of the urban area around it. Sort of an expansive urban area just sort of sprawling out. And of course that darker smoky energetics just sort of emanating out of that structure that got struck right there. So over here in this sort of more narrow space, I'm going to draw one last thing. I am seeing, in reference to this target activity, the real event is a subject that doesn't really seem like he's anywhere near this sort of event. Very angry, like a very angry subject that is right here, a male with formal attire, and this male subject has his hand sort of slamming his hand on this what I imagine is a desk, and not very happy at all. So this guy, quite unhappy subject, sitting at this desk and just smashes a fist on the ground. Well, I guess I can keep that color, but switch the color, sorry. So he smashes his fist on the ground, and we'll do a quick deep mind probe of this guy, just to, oh gosh, I'm ruining perspective right here. So anyway, we'll do a quick deep mind probe of this guy as he's quite angry at this object. Not at this object, but he's sitting at this object, smacking his fist on this object, and he's expressing a lot of anger. So let's do a quick deep mind probe. All right, so I'm just going to redraw his mouth right here. It's quite open because seems like he's yelling. Maybe there's other subjects. I kind of feel like there's other subjects in front of him at a distance, but he smacks his hand on the ground on this desk-looking thing, yells out some exclamations, and then from the deep mind probe, I get the impression that even though he's not in some sort of conflict feeling place physically right now, I do feel like he's in a state of conflict, and he's against another group of subjects or groups of subjects, and I feel like he's very, very frustrated. Frustrated is the better word for all of this. Not really anger, but as much as just real frustration. Just like gosh, and smack. And then right after he exclaims this sort of like, psh, and smacks something, he bottles all those emotions really quickly. So it's like a quick exclamation of frustration, and then it's gone. He really puts a lot of effort into just reining all of that in. He puts his hands together like this, and then it's just sort of, he's just calmer. And I get the impression that he feels like he's able to handle whatever's going on. It's handleable, he's handling it. However, it was frustrating. So whatever this event was, very frustrating to this subject, and He smacks his hands down, puts his hands together, and is like, but he does feel like he can handle this. So whatever he's doing, he feels like he can handle it, but he does feel like he's also in the state of conflict with other groups. And yeah, that's really all the data I have for this target. So that concludes my session.
A lot of structures, clouds, cloud dynamics, smoke burning. I smell burning. There's a lot of movement here. I'm seeing something I can't, may possibly mountains or foliage, structures here. There's subjects all over, just all over in I'm getting feelings of sadness, feelings of despair. There are a lot of energetics around here. There's a lot of dynamic movement. I'm seeing male and female subjects, everyone moving in multiple directions. There's a lot of multidirectional movement going on here, just via the subjects, loud shouting sounds of sorrow, pain, anger, sadness, loss. I hear wind. I have a peak structure or mountain, natural material, irregular land, possible water, structures around here, foliage in each direction, and some structures in the forefront. What looks like it could be a bridge, but I'm uncertain, and subjects around in the forefront. I'm getting feelings of fire, burning structure or volcano, lava. I also get feeling, I had a lot of these are deductions, and they lead me to the deduction of Hawaii. I'm not quite sure why that popped in my head. There's a lot of mayhem, war, dismay, just unsettlement. It's not pretty. It is hard here, hardship. Both natural and man-made environment, and the smoke seems to come from both natural and man-made sources. Steep peaks, some slopes. These grid-like here. I have structures again. There's just a lot of movement via the subjects. They're trying to get away. They're moving to safety. This very chaotic, unstructured, multi-directional movement. Objects, moving structures, moving subjects, collapsing structures on the surface here. Just very warm, comfortable temperature outside of the chaos. I cannot tell if it is rainy or if there is a water situation happening. But there is water forcing, coming down here. A lot of rough debris and rubble on the surface. Tar, grass. It's very rough on my feet. But there are some smooth surfaces. Wetness, also dryness, misty. Like I said, that mist, that moisture in the atmospherics here. Fire, heat, smoke, some sort of an explosion of some sort, or just large energetic, fiery energetics. Structures breaking, crumbling, falling, debris. I see brown skin in the subjects. I also see pale skin. I hear non-English speaking voices. I can't really quite tell. There are some English here as well, but I also hear foreign accents to my native language. Fear, sadness, confusion. Why? The feeling of why. They're sad. They can't handle this anymore. They can't take this. They seem to just, it hurt. There is some death here. Others are alive, but there's definitely some death here. It was very chaotic. It's very sad. And it is unpretty.
For my first visual, I have a base surface with irregular topography. I have this kind of like mountainous, natural land. I have some foliage. There's also some man-made land here. There's warm temperatures. My next visual, I'm seeing like surface structures on the base surface, like mountains in the distance, and just kind of like this area of like man-made land. So looking at the structures here, I'm seeing one large surface structure. It kind of has this like cylindrical shape with a very flat top. And I also have some smaller structures nearby. And there's like multiple structures like this, and they all look very similar. So, taking another look at this large structure, I'm seeing, that's kind of where I'm seeing a lot of activity by subjects. There's subjects inside of this structure as well as like outside on the base surface. And I do have a few subjects in these smaller structures, but it seems like most subjects here are more focused on getting to this larger structure. So kind of getting a closer look at what's going on at this large structure. I'm seeing like multiple entrances to get inside this structure, and it looks like the subjects here are in line at these entrances, and there are subjects inside. It seems like there's a lot more activity inside the structure. So getting a look at the subjects here that are like in line. They seem to be wearing like mostly casual clothing. See, most of the subjects here appear to have like darker hair. There's male and female subjects that are standing in line here. And their clothing is also like, I'm seeing kind of faded or maybe like muted colors. And some of the subjects have like light layers, not really heavy clothing. There's like warmer temperatures here. These subjects feel, it feels like they're kind of impatient or just kind of cold to one another. Like they're very focused on making sure that they can get inside the structure. Like it's a very individual, like a individual purpose why they want to get inside. Yeah. So kind of zooming out again, like I see that's like our large structure, but I am picking up some activity at these smaller structures. I'm seeing some energetics, like kind of like kind of bright lights kind of coming from these structures. I have one vehicle near these structures that has multiple subjects inside, but there's just not, there's a few other subjects here, but compared to this other area, there's just not a lot of subjects. So if I look at the subjects in this vehicle, they feel like I have 3 subjects. There's 1 female and like 2 male subjects here, and they feel like they're maybe close, but like close to one another, but they're not happy with each other in this moment. They feel like they're frustrated with one another or like blaming each other for something going on with these structures specifically. And they're like, it seems like they're disappointed, like they put some type of energy or resources into these structures or this area, and they are maybe like expecting more subjects to be here rather than at this large structure. So that's like they're disappointed that there's not a lot of activity here compared to that larger structure. And looking at what's going on, like at the large structure, so I have this line of subjects, you know, they're waiting to get in, and even once they get in, like partially, it's still not like, still seems like that's not enough. Like they're really trying to get to what's in the larger part of the structure. It feels like once these subjects can get in, they're kind of gathering into groups and they feel like they're more social. There's a lot more talking, more just kind of like separating each other. There's a lot of movement back and forth, kind of just around the structure. And that's, I guess, something here that's attracting all of these subjects. And it seems like even the thought of these subjects going to these smaller structures would be like a distraction. They're like, this is just a more desirable place to be. And maybe these 3 subjects had like some reason they want to lure subjects to these smaller structures. So basically, like, even though it's still like very frantic, there's a lot going on in this large structure. It's better for the subjects to be there than in these smaller structures.
Okay, so let's draw some conclusions from these data. April 2022 is going to be an interesting month. 3 of the sessions suggest direct warlike activity that resembles what has been going on in Ukraine. However, 2 of the sessions suggest that something will happen that involves fort-like structures near a natural or rural environment, and possibly the activity of an angry male subject who resembles a leader. In general, the sessions do suggest that the fighting in Ukraine will not end quickly. We will just have to wait and see how this all turns out for the month of April 2022. So that is it for our April 2022 edition of Farsight's Human News, the news before it happens. Thank you for watching. Please join us next month in May 2022 for another look into the future of Earth humans. Also, on FarsightPrime.com, be sure to look for our next major Mysteries project, Vladimir Putin and his Inner Circle, our live stream events, the Farsight ET News, the monthly intelligence briefing, as well as new Farsight economic forecasts. And remember, we do Farsight at Farsight. Farsight is our style of remote viewing, vocabulary is important in these changing times, and I am Aziz Brown from Farsight. Stay ahead of the curve, let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.